The offensive line has to bring it for Michigan State this year for the first time in a long time, or it's going to be another rocky season ahead.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for making Locked On Spartans your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everyday listeners right here of the Locked On Podcast Network. Guys, please rate, review, subscribe, comment below the most important position on the offensive side of the ball outside of quarterback. Don't go throwing Aidan Chiles in there. No. We're not going to do the basic route on this show. We went outside the box here a little bit. And then, guys, right after that topic of conversation to kick off today's show, we're going to get into an interesting CBS Sports piece where they ranked every Power 4 head coach. Where does Jonathan Smith fall in all of that, guys? And then, of course, a few mailbag questions. And if you ever have any of those, lockedonspartans@gmail.com is where to find us. But guys, to kick it off here, we did a reverse mailbag question on Twitter. That's when I asked you beautiful folks out there a question about Michigan State football, and it was this. Outside of Aidan Chiles, who is the most important position or player on the offensive side of the ball as we head further into this offseason? And Blair wrote it best. I was going to try to, articulate my opinion here, but yes, I think it is the offensive line. But Blair, take it away. He wrote in, I don't know if I've had an ounce of confidence in the offensive line in 5+ years. I think you're speaking for a lot of Michigan State fans when you write that, Blair. If the offensive line is better, I think we should expect Chiles to make a pretty big jump. If he makes a pretty big jump, we're actually a pretty decent team. Yes, that is impossible to refute any of those points. Aidan Chiles, look, was he perfect in his own right last year? No. But is he raw? Can he use some help to refine his skills that he has? Like actually giving him some, what they call time to find his receivers, go through his progressions, not be running for his life like a gazelle in the wild immediately when the ball is snapped? Yeah, I think that actually helped him last year. Guys, there are some stats to kind of back up what I'm saying right there. Last year, our guy Aidan Chiles was the third most pressured quarterback in the Big Ten. He was facing pressure 38.2% of his dropbacks, guys. Now, each tackle, the left tackle, the right tackle last year, they each let on 29 pressures. You want to add those two numbers up? Let's see if I can do some math on the fly here. Yeah, that's what I think it is. That is 58 combined pressures just from the tackle position. So it was tough sledding last year for protecting our guy. Now, if you want to break it down into which player is going to be most important, yes, we will stick with the tackle position here. Because, guys, it's going to be a two-horse race for who's the most important on this offense outside of Chiles, in my opinion. It's going to be Connor Moore. It's going to be Stanton Ramil. Okay, let's start with Connor Moore, the guy who's projecting to be the starting right tackle here for your Michigan State Spartans. And if Connor Moore doesn't sound familiar to you, if you didn't really follow this team in the transfer portal, well, you're going to like to hear that he was an FCS All-American from Montana State. And Montana State, guys, they played a lot of games last year. Since they went all the way to the national championship game, they played 16 games. And in those 16 games, our guy Connor Moore, who played left tackle for the Bobcats last year, allowed just 16 pressures and 1 sack in those 16 games. Guys, that is 355 passing snaps at left tackle with just 1 sack given up. Now, I will say, is it going to be a guaranteed thing that he's going to be this bona fide great offensive lineman? No, it's not. Of those 11 pressures, 5 came in the very last game against North Dakota State. Now, could that be chalked up to whoever's just following this number on Pro Football Focus? They didn't really see a pressure the same way the other guys did. Possibly, I suppose. Or could it be that, North Dakota State was the best competition they faced all year, and that's where most of the pressures came? That could absolutely be a case. So we won't get these answers until we start seeing the season play out. But I think the floor is at least raised at that right tackle position. Now, guys, the left tackle, Stanton Ramil, this is a name that you probably already know if you've watched last year. Now, as a redshirt freshman coming off of an ACL injury, I think he held his own. Was it perfect? Of course not. But, guys, he was one of 23 redshirt freshman tackles to get at least 600 snaps last year, tallying up 613 snaps. That is a great breadth of experience for our guy Stanton Ramil? Are we going to rake him over the coals because he didn't have an all Big Ten year as a redshirt freshman? No. That's a tough position to learn on the fly, especially when you're going up against some pretty stiff competition like, I don't know, the Oregons of the world, the Ohio States of the world, the Michigans of the world. Our guy Stanton Ramil had to do a lot of growing up very quickly in his career. So offensive line, that was a popular answer when we went out on Twitter and we said, hey, what position outside of quarterback is the most important? That was what I would say probably 70% of all the answers. But there were some other ones out there, which we are going to go through. A lot of you guys said running back. Like Spartan Guy 96 said, I feel like we are vastly missing the mark on talking about running back. It's a serious hole right now. It's like our issue at shooting guard in basketball, just hoping a piece works out, but it could be a disaster. I'm a little worried about running back. I'm curious. I'm worried, depending on what day. If I'm feeling pessimistic, I'm worried. If I'm feeling optimistic, hey, I'm just excited to see how it's going to shake out. Because, guys, like, I know neither of these guys got drafted. I know neither of them landed on all Big Ten teams. But, like, I think that we did have some talent in the running back room last year. Like, Kayron Lynch-Adams, we'll start with him. 47 missed tackles forced. Okay, that was fifth most in the Big Ten. And that's incredible because a lot of those guys in the top 10, they were just the bell cow running back. Like, they weren't sharing carries with anyone else like Kayron Lynch-Adams was. So even as a guy that was splitting carries, still in the top 5 in the conference for most tackles missed. My goodness gracious. Now, Nate Carter, he wasn't too bad either. 27 missed tackles forced. That's good enough for the top 15 in the Big Ten. Now, Michigan State as a whole, man, guys, last year, third down conversions. That's right. Not fourth down. Third down conversions. They were 103rd in the nation, converting just 35% of the time. Now, there's a lot that goes into a number like that. There's a lot that goes into a struggle like that on third down. Some of it is, yeah, you can't move ahead of the sticks because, well, you're already behind schedule. Right there on 1st and 10, if you try to run the ball and, it's 2nd and 8, incomplete pass, that snowballs into 3rd and 8, and that's pretty hard to convert. Or, saw this happen a few times last year, it's 3rd and 2. All right, just hand the ball off between the tackles. Let's keep those chains moving. So one problem, you couldn't really reliably pick up yardage in short yardage situations because our running backs were getting mauled pretty much right when they got the ball handed to them. So, no, that is going to be an important part of the season here. Give Aidan Chiles a run game that he can kind of play off of, take some pressure off of him, give your team a go-to unit on these 4th and 3rd and short opportunities, and also just stay ahead of schedule on the play calling. Do not get yourself into 2nd and long, have that snowball in the 3rd and long right off the bat, and it's going to be interesting to see where it's going to go from here, guys, because all that you did in the offseason was get Eli Tau-Toliver, who was fine at Sacramento State. He's actually probably good at Sacramento State, some may say, but that's just like a fine, bordering on good running back from an FCS program that plays in the Big Sky. Excuse me for being a little bit reluctant to just be automatically bought into that. And then behind them, guys, if you listen to yesterday's show, you know the story about Mekhi Frazier, Brandon Tulis. These are guys that did not have a lot of stats coming out of high school. Brandon Frazier because, well, he was injured his entire senior year. And then Mekhi Frazier, who played as a linebacker in high school. Granted, at, McKinney High School, a massive high school down in Texas, he probably had kids all over the place. And at 5'10", 200 whatever pounds he is these days, yeah, that's probably not a linebacker build for Division I, but he is still a Division I talent, set a running back role, we're hoping. So it's going to be interesting to see what the running back room gives us. And we're not done, taking what you guys had to say. We're also going to hit on where CBS Sports has Jonathan Smith ranked amongst all the Power 4 coaches, guys. But first, you need to talk your ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook, the NBA playoffs. Yes, they are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't miss moments. Whether it's game-winning shot or, hey, a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action than with FanDuel. Now, FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Guys, especially if you're a new customer here, place your first $5 bet over on FanDuel, and if you win, it will be $200 in bonus bets. And you can use those bonus bets, just like I said, before the game. If you want to build a same-game parlay, or, hey, if you like to get in live on the action, you see a team go down 15 points early, and you say to yourself, The NBA, there's comebacks all the time here. Let's get in on it right now live. Well, guys, use your bonus bets however you want over at FanDuel. Again, guys, head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, $200 in bonus bets are all yours. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Now let's get back after it, guys, because this is actually old friend of the program here who brought up the next point, and this is Andrew Wade. Used to be a great host over at Locked On Hawkeyes down in Iowa country, and he didn't necessarily name an offensive player, but we're going to say it anyway. He said kicker. You need a kicker to win the game 6-3 versus Iowa in November. Now that's funny, low-scoring game. I'm all here for the chuckles, but honestly, kicker is going to be a massive question mark here. And this could be an important position on the field. I hope it's an important position on the field this year. Because that means for the first time in a while, we have more than just one game that's going to come down to a field goal. Like, we're going to be competitive in the fourth quarter. So I hope that it comes down to kicking, just one issue. You saw one of the best kickers, if not the best. There's an argument to be had here. One of the best kickers in your program's history to leave for the NFL. I mean, and he ran out of eligibility. If you guys didn't know that, Jonathan Kim, he couldn't come back, but hey, he's teaming up now with the Chicago Bears. And guys, like last season, Jonathan Kim, 19 of 21. If you know anything about college kicking, you should unload a $1 million bag for a kicker that could kick that efficiently in college, guys. He only had one miss inside 50 yards. His other miss was outside of 50 yards. Like, he had a cannon for a leg. He was accurate. He was reliable. And he was 82% on his career here, the 2 years here at Michigan State. And even if you want to go back to his junior year here, a lot of those misses were just kind of, because he was so good. They would trot him out there for 54-yard field goals, 57-yard field goals. I mean, he was a victim of his own strength of his legs. So it's going to be an issue here. Because batting up next, it's either Martin Connington, you got Tariq Ahmet-Basek. Who knows who's going to come out of that? I think it's safe to say that whoever it is probably won't have as strong and reliable of a leg as Jonathan Kim had. So, yeah, I think Jonathan Kim maybe take it for granted last year because, well, there's a lack of games where kicking actually mattered. And I know that we all saw the Maryland game. That was a lot of fun. Had a great time. And then the rest of the season happened. Not so much fun. He did pretty solid against Iowa, too, if I remember correctly as well. Don't want to, discount that. But number two, maybe the reason you take him for granted is that you don't notice a kicker if he's doing really well. You only remember the kickers if they are really on the struggle bus. And Jonathan Kim very rarely was ever on that. So, yeah, that's going to be an important part to this season here. And who's going to have the last say here? On this question, who's the most important position? It's going to be the K-man. People are saying offensive line, but the issue with that group last year was the lack of depth and experience, which shouldn't be an issue now. That is correct. My take is that the tight end position needs to be better in the system where Lindgren loves to use them as blockers. Rough last year in that respect. Indeed, it was K-man. It's not just the offensive line that should shoulder all the blame for the blocking issues. I mean, yes, they get the largest slice of that pie. But, yeah, the tight ends left a lot to be desired, especially after Michael Masunis went down with injury just 4 games into the season. Like, he was the better of the 3 tight ends between him, Jack Felling, Brennan Parachek. Tight ends, they have age, they have experience. They don't have any excuses to not produce this year for Michigan State, in my humble opinion, guys. I got to see something out of that tight end room. All right, let's get online. Let's go to CBSSports.com because this was tweeted out by Tom Fornelli today. Now, this is a piece where between CBS Sports, 24/7 Sports, they had their experts compile a ranking of all the Power 4 head coaches in football going into next year. Now, they only released, I think it was, 68 through 26. They have not released their top 25 yet, but this is everyone that was on the outside of the top 25. So that's breaking the cliffhanger right there of, hey, where's Jonathan Smith ranked? Who, by the way, was last year ranked 27th. Now, guys, right now, last year did no favors to him. He's now ranked 49th overall, according to the CBS Sports and 24/7 Sports experts. Now, Tom Fornelli wrote this as much too, guys, is that they just say rank them. They don't give them any parameters. So could it be, hey, what are your recruiting chops? Hey, how good are you doing with 3 stars, turning them into higher end talent? How good are you just winning on the field right now? This can be interpreted in a variety of ways. There is no clear-cut answer as to how they formulated this. But guys, this is what we got right here. 49th overall in the nation. That is below average, of course. And it's 6th lowest in the Big Ten this year. I did think this was a little interesting. He is ahead of Barry Odom over at Purdue, ahead of Sharon Moore at Michigan, ahead of Mike Locksley at Maryland, ahead of Deshaun Foster at UCLA, and also ahead of David Braun at Northwestern. And those aren't the only names that we know that he is ahead of right now, according to CBS Sports. They also have him ahead of Clark Leah, who at Vanderbilt, I thought had a really good year last year. I thought Clark was going to jump into the top 25 of this ranking, but maybe I was just a little too high on the Commodores last year. Anyway, our guy Jonathan Smith, that's right, ahead of, 8-time winning Super Bowl coach or however many Bill Belichick has. Yes, they have him ranked ahead of Bill Belichick. They have him ranked ahead of Brent Venables, and also just one spot ahead of Bill O'Brien, who we will, of course, see in Week 2 this upcoming season. So this was the write-up here on Jonathan Smith. They said only one coach fell further in the rankings this year than Jonathan Smith. Now, I will step in. Only Luke Fickell slid harder from last year. He dropped 23 spots, okay? Jonathan Smith slid back 22. Luke Fickell, the only guy that has plummeted even further. Now, back to the write-up. He began his tenure with the Spartans ranked 27th based on the success he had at Oregon State, but he stumbled to a 5-7 debut with his new squad. Personally, I feel this punishment is extremely harsh. 5-7 isn't a huge letdown based on expectations, but clearly my fellow voters felt otherwise. I'm fine being the high vote on Smith. So the highest that he got was, it appears to be from Tom Fornelli, 39th overall. Kind of humming around average, still below average. And then the lowest he got was 53rd. So, guys, what's my opinion on this? Do I think it's a little harsh? Do I think it's just right? I actually will side with Tom Fornelli here. I will say that it is a little harsh. And look, if you listen to yesterday's episode, my qualms about the state of recruiting right now in the wake of losing Corey Amakri to Kansas, you know I'm not like all super duper hyped up and I think everything is going great under Jonathan Smith. No, I am starting to get a little worried about the recruiting aspect as we head into the second offseason here. But anyway, I will find a balance here. I do think that sliding him from 27th to 49th is a bit harsh. I'd probably have him slotted somewhere closer to 40, maybe high 30s like Tom Fornelli did. But yeah, last year, just like Tom said, like he did enter this program with some issues like that were not his doing. The lack of depth at key position groups, the lack of talent, because that's what happens when you have some shorter recruiting classes. You're just missing straight up bodies and skill everywhere. And probably not the healthiest culture that he inherited from the last guy either. I think there was a lot of damage control that Smith had to do early on. And with that, not just off the field, but on the field, especially with the offensive line getting bruised and battered almost immediately, guys, like what we know from Jonathan Smith at Oregon State is that they like to have a run-first offense. They want to establish this dominant physical identity between the tackles, and you were not able to do that last year at all. Now, as we get into second year, Jonathan Smith here, this will start to be your issue. By the third year, certainly. If it's not humming by then, and I'm sorry, but almost all fingers have to be pointed to you. I know that the last staff and even the staff before that did you no favors, but this is your shift now, starting like truly next year 100%. But yeah, we're going to see it hopefully on the field materialize this year. I just don't think that it's fair to rank him at 49th after that one season. But then again, these guys are free to vote their own way. If a lot of these guys, especially the 24/7 sports guys, the big recruiting guys, kind of fly towards that, the recruiting aspect a little more, then yeah, okay, 49th seems a bit fair. But I do want to tie in some on-field realities here. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting. Like, is he really worse than Pat Narduzzi over at Pitt? And I know that Pat has a steady program over there, but that's all that it really is, just steady. Luke Fickell, who is 40, like he is 9 spots ahead of Jonathan Smith. I don't know. I don't think the gears are turning the way that they want them to over in Madison. So I just thought that was interesting, worth talking about here. If you guys have a strong opinion on it, LockedOnSpartans@gmail.com. Come on by. ask the question, give your comment, or also just comment below on YouTube if you are listening right now. Now, speaking of mailbag questions here, we got this from Trey. He hit us up at Sheehan_sports over here. And he says, is 9 wins realistic with losses to USC, Penn State, and Indiana? That's right. I know we've been kind of like down in the dumps here the last 24 hours on this show. Recruiting, that's one thing. But let's pick the spirits up here. I like what we're doing here, Trey. I like this. Let's all close our eyes, squeeze our eyelids shut as hard as we possibly can, and just dream, everyone. Because is 9 wins possible? Yeah. I think it is. Now, let me stop right here. Am I predicting 9 wins? No, I'm not predicting 9 wins. But when we've had the conversation this offseason about what's Michigan State's ceiling, what is in the best case scenario, what can you see them at? I think it is 9-3 if like everything breaks their way. You want to step it up a notch. You want to go to 10-2. My God, who am I to stop you? But yeah, 9 wins. Yeah, realistic in the sense of like probably a 3% shot of happening. But yeah, look, this is what it would mean. Okay, you lose to USC on the road, totally understandable. Penn State, they'll be a top 5 team. Okay, fine, you get it. Indiana, sure, why not? But this means that you're beating Western Michigan, doable. Beating Boston College, I think doable at home. Beating Youngstown State at home, I hope that's doable. Now you go to the road at Nebraska off of bye week. Okay, can you do it? Certainly you can. Nebraska, sure. I think their program on the rise, but I've also thought that for the last 12 years, so I might be wrong about that yet again. Then UCLA at home. Then Michigan at home, a team that's lost so much talent. And then at Minnesota. And then at Iowa. That's going to be a tough game, but God, does Iowa have an offense this year? And then Ford Field to end it. Yeah, you can talk yourself into those games all being wins, for sure, but let's see how it happens here. First and foremost, this requires Michigan State to be like mostly healthy. I know, dummy. I know injuries will happen this year, but they cannot happen at the clip that they've happened the last few seasons. Like, you can't be breaking in your third starting offensive lineman by week 3 like you did a season ago. No. And speaking of the linemen, like it starts with health and it continues in the trenches, both sides of the ball. The offensive line, God, we've spoken ad nauseum about the offensive line so far this offseason. You know why they have to perform. Get a run game, protect your quarterback. Simple as that. Now, the other side of the ball here, this is where I start to really wonder if we will ever get close to even dreaming about 9 wins during the season. Because, man, what a bunch of question marks on this front 4 here, guys. Like, from the interior to the edges here, and you need to get plus play from, like, almost everyone if you want to hit 9 wins here. You need to be able to stop the run. Did a decent enough job at that last year, but you will be losing some linebackers from last year's unit. And then, well, yeah, you gotta get to the passer, unlike you did last year. You cannot be 3rd worst in the Big Ten at sacks. You can't have, what was it? I think it was like 50% of your sacks coming in the first 3 weeks. Like, you got to show up against your conference opponents here, guys. You got to have someone that gets to the quarterback kind of as consistently as Kenny Willekes did, if I could just pull that name out. And that is far from a guarantee. And oh yeah, also behind that front 4, that front 7, you need ballers in the secondary. You need a more consistent Malik Spencer. You need Joshua Eaton at cornerback, Bean, who people are saying that he has been so far in spring practice. You need one of Nijay Burt or Malcolm Bell or both to really stand out and take the leap from FCS or independent football and actually deliver at a high level. This is asking a lot. Well, because 9 wins is a lot here. And then if I could just add one more thing, the special teams, yeah, they need to be there too. And not just the field goal kicking. We already talked about that this show, how big of a question mark that's going to be. But guys, also returning kicks too. This is something that hasn't gone right for Michigan State. And that was pretty quiet last year because we had so many other issues that like we forgot to kind of just get to the lackadaisical kickoff and punt return last year. Last year, guys, they had the 4th lowest average return on kickoffs in the Big Ten. They were kind of middle of the pack on punts. Nothing really explosive last year against your Power 4 teams, but yeah, that just has to take a step up too, guys. So yeah, is 9 wins possible? Anything in life is possible, right, guys? Like, hey, you've seen teams in college football flip the switch, really hit home runs all over the transfer portal all the time. Especially with that front 4 on defense, I don't know if they'll be good enough to get to 9 wins. I'm just hoping that they're good enough to get us to 7 wins. Like, I would sign a dotted line for 7 wins right now, as sad and pathetic as that is to say. But yeah, that's the world I'm in right now, as much as I hate to admit it. Now, Ray, he hit us with a 3-pack of questions here, guys. Now, we're going to start with basketball, actually. Number one, now that the season is over, can I ask if you followed how Hoggard and Sissoko did and what your reaction to the performances are? Yeah, full transparency. I have no reason to lie about this, but did I ever seek out a Cal game last year? Did I ever see that Vanderbilt was playing and say to myself, oh, can't change the channel here? No, truthfully, no. I never did. If there was a tight Vanderbilt game and I'm just bored one night, I guess I'd watch the last few minutes of it. But no, I was never really keeping a close enough eye on them to be on a game-by-game basis, seeing what they did. Now, would I check some stats? Would I check some box scores every once in a while if I was incredibly bored? Yeah, I would. And I would say, hey, oh my God, Monty Sissoko. That's great that he's doing somewhat well over there at Cal. Because impossible to root against him. Do we have some thoughts and opinions on his level of play here in East Lansing? Yes, and unfortunately, I made them known because we talk about sports here. But Monty Sissoko is the human, one of the best human beings you could possibly put on this earth, all things considered. I mean, now AJ Hoggard, it's not to say he's a scumbag, but I think it's quite the step down from, hey, rooting for his success here. He found a really good landing spot at Vanderbilt. This was a mutual parting of ways here in East Lansing. I think it was better for both parties involved. Was I checking the box score, hoping to see that he committed 7 turnovers and just had 1 assist? No. I was pretty apathetic when I checked AJ Hoggard's box scores last year. Hey, if he did good, I see Vanderbilt's doing good. They got some upsets. They're going to the tournament. Awesome. That's great. That's cool. If he did bad, then, well, turns out Michigan State made the right decisions. So that's a long way of saying that I was kind of apathetic towards the Hoggard thing. And then Monty, yeah, I wanted to root for his success. Why not? Now, question number 2. I am a lower middle class turd who was blessed by the fact that Spartan Stadium doesn't have a bad seat in the house. You got that right. If I were to buy an upper deck seat for the Youngstown State game, what's the most I should pay? I will say this, and not just because, I'm a company man and they're a sponsor of the program, but Game Time Tickets truly does, guys. If you catch me off camera, away from a microphone, you want to talk about Game Time, I would say the same thing over and over again. They are truly the best ticketing app out there. Especially, let's say it's a noon game for this Youngstown game. If you're walking up to the stadium at 11:58, you should find tickets that are don't quote me, but single-digit dollars. Now, this is what I would do, but this is asking for you to be someone that maybe you're not. If you are an outgoing person, if you have no problem being a little bit of an extrovert, swallowing your pride, walk around the tailgating lots or walk around outside the stadium and just say, hey, anyone got a ticket? Anyone got a free ticket? Because for the Youngstown State game, I would fetch a guess that someone might have a spare lane around here. So I know it's outside your comfort zone. I know that it might be a little awkward, but truly, everyone's happy when they're tailgating, as long as you're not just being the weirdest person at all about it and, sneaking up from behind their shoulder, putting your chin right next to their neck and being like, hey, you got an extra ticket? No, I would just up front, outside the stadium, hey, looking for one. Yeah, I think you could score a free ticket to this game. But if not, if you want the sure thing, Game Time right before kickoff. Actually, last year, guys, story time with Matt. It's a short story. It's not even that good of a one. But I went to the went to the Purdue game. That's right, the other P school. Went to the Purdue game last year. It was me, my dad, my great buddy. We only had 2 tickets, though. But I said, all right, you 2 guys, go in the stadium. I'm just going to walk around, see if I could find one. Before I could even raise my hand and say, hey, does anyone have an extra ticket? There was some kid walking around with 10 tickets in his hand, screaming, I've got 10 for free right here. And I was like, oh my God, can I please take one of those? And it was great. That got me in the stadium. God, there's no better atmosphere than East Lansing on a game day. Everyone is in such a great mood. I can't wait to get back there. Man, that's the best. So yeah, that's my advice for Youngstown. Just, be social, be a little butterfly out there, or go on Game Time. And then the last question, you're a straight talker. Will MSU football beat Michigan within the next 5 years? Now, we actually just had this conversation with Brian Smith of The Portal, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, not too long ago. And I said, yeah, I think they will. And I don't want to come off as it's now or never this year. But this year has to be the year, right? Michigan's only going to get better after this year, I would believe. Right now, you'd be facing a Michigan team at home that just lost 4 guys in the top 2 rounds of last year's draft. and they turn that into a 7-5 year. All right, great season over there. They have a true freshman quarterback, and their offensive line has some question marks going into the year. So, look, I'm not saying Michigan State's going to be world beaters, and they should win this game. But, yeah, if you want to beat them, no better time to get them than, well, last year. But the second best time to get them is right now. So I think they will do it. This is always a rivalry where you just throw out the record books more times than not. But, yeah, I think it'll happen, guys. Quote me on that. I don't care. And if it goes 5 more years without beating them and you guys want to clip this little snippet here and dunk on me for that, I won't even be around in 5 years. I will move on to something else in my life if this keeps on going on as long as it is. No, that's a lie. I'll be here. I'll be sticking it out as long as I'm still living. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in to Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white. Take care of yourselves. Love you all. Go green.